Smile, be, chat, join for networking.
My talk is the use of neuroscience to attain happiness and success. Now, how many of you here would like to have more energy and feel happier all the time? By show of hands. And how many of you would like to be magnets for business opportunities? Great. Well, if you start putting these principles I'm going to share with you now into practice, you're going to become so unstoppable that you can achieve any goal. And I'll demonstrate a little bit about achieving impossible goals later on. Now, what is a positive mental attitude? Would anyone like to hazard a guess?
Just thinking that anything is possible.
Yes, that's a good way of describing it. Anybody else?
Continuous optimism.
Yes, yeah. The best definition I've ever come across is that a positive mental attitude is how you react to stress and problems. People with a good positive mental attitude actually react very well to stress and problems. It's not looking at life through rose-tinted spectacles. It's recognising that you're always going to face problems. You go from one problem to another problem in your business, and then another problem, and then a crisis comes along, and that's when you nearly go out of business. Those are always going to happen. You can't do anything about them to stop them, but you can change the way that you react to them. And the way that you do that is by developing a positive mental attitude. Now, what's a negative mental attitude? People that have a negative mental attitude go through life with a victim mentality. They feel as if life is a series of unfair acts of oppression. They don't expect much and they don't get much. Whereas people with a positive mental attitude see life as full of opportunities and possibilities. They have great expectations. They may believe that the universe is conspiring to make them happy and successful. They expect a lot and they're rarely disappointed. Now, neuroscience tells us that anybody can actually develop a positive mental attitude, or just about anybody. And the way that you would do it is to put yourself on a mental fitness program. And the principles I'm going to share with you now are basically that, a mental fitness program. It's a little bit like if you wanted to get physically strong, you'd put yourself onto a physical fitness program. But mental fitness is even easier because you can do it in your armchair and you don't get hot and sweaty. Now, the word attitude, if you look at it and you assign a score to each letter corresponding to its place in the alphabet, so A is 1, T is 20, I is 12, then if you add up the score, it comes to exactly 100. And I always say that attitude is giving 100%. So the first principle I want to share with you is positive self-talk. 97% of the way that we feel comes from our self-talk. And psychologists know that nearly 80% of the average person's self-talk is negative. Self-talk is also known as stream of consciousness or internal dialogue. And there's 4 keys to actually changing your self-talk. The first is to look at your explanatory style, the way that you explain things to yourself. And people that tend to have a negative mental attitude say to themselves, "Oh, why do I keep making this mistake?" Whereas someone with a positive mental attitude is going to say, that's interesting. What can I learn from this? So that's explanatory style. The second key is using affirmations. Now, your potential as a person is virtually unlimited with the use of affirmations. And if you do them in hypnosis, they're even more powerful. Now, an affirmation is a short positive statement about yourself. And when you're writing them, there's 3 P's that you want to bear in mind. The first P is positive. The second P is present tense. And the third P is personal. So all affirmations begin I am or I can. You can't have an affirmation for someone else. Present tense, you say it as if you've already got it. I love my job. I love myself. And then the third P is positive. Now, the unconscious doesn't really process negatives very well. Sometimes it understands them, but more often than not, it just deletes them. So the first, the key to using this is to not use the word, not. You wouldn't say for yourself, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm not stupid, because the unconscious will actually delete that. And although consciously you're hearing yourself saying that you're not stupid, the unconscious part of your mind is hearing that you are stupid. So keep everything positive as well. Now, some people tell me that when they're using affirmations, they feel like they're lying to themselves. They can't actually say, I love myself, or I like my job. Now, affirmations are actually so powerful that you're not lying to yourself, you're just telling the truth in advance. So now they are very, very powerful, so make full use of them. And you'd repeat them several times a day, in the morning and maybe in the evening. The third key to developing positive self-talk is to train your brain to look out for positives. Now, it might surprise you, but our brains aren't designed to make us happy. They're designed to keep us alive. And the way that they do that is to look out for all the negative stuff going on. Now, at the moment, we have far more negative stuff going on than ever before in our lives. And it's brought to us in hundreds of different ways. What you need to do instead is to actually train your brain to look out for the positive stuff that's going on. In fact, we've never actually been safer than we are now at this moment. But people are suffering huge amounts of anxiety because they're focusing on all the negative stuff that's going on. Now, the neuroscience behind this, now this is a huge oversimplification, but the right prefrontal cortex of the brain actually is a part of the brain that looks out for all the negative stuff, and it's hardwired down into the limbic system, the emotional centre of the brain. And when this side of the brain is dominant, is more active than the left side, then you feel as if you're being controlled by your emotions. And you don't have any conscious control over that. The key is to create more activity in the left prefrontal cortex. And the way that you do that, or one of the ways you can do it, is by training your brain to look out for the positive stuff that's going on. And positive stuff outnumbers negative stuff significantly, but we just don't notice it all. Negative events are like superglue to the brain. They stick in there and you never ever forget them. Whereas positive events are like Teflon. They just slip off. You need to secure them with a sharp pencil, or at least keep a journal on your iPhone or Android and write everything down in there. Write down 3 positives a day, and then the next week 4, and then the next week 5. And by doing that, you'll actually increase the activity that's going on in the left prefrontal cortex. This part of the brain links up to the outer cortex, or the neocortex of the brain, and that is the intelligent part of the brain, the solution-focused part of the brain. And it knows how to do everything perfectly. Now, the reason why we don't have control over the emotional part of our brain is because if we did, we would not have evolved or developed into the advanced race that we are now. If you imagine going back in time 300 years, when there were lots of dangerous animals walking around the countryside and you saw a bear coming towards you, you had to react automatically to that threat. The flight or fight reaction would kick in, triggered off by the right prefrontal cortex and then the amygdala and a whole load of other stuff within the limbic system. And you would either run away or freeze and hope that the bear didn't see you, or you would maybe fight the bear if you were feeling particularly brave. Now, just imagine if you, and this would all occur automatically, just imagine if you had conscious control over those reactions. You might see the bear coming towards you. You might think, oh, that looks like a nice fluffy bear. Perhaps it's not hungry. Perhaps it's just eaten something or someone. By the time you've gone through that conscious thought process, you'd be dead. So that's why we don't have conscious control over our anxieties. Now, there's two other ways that you can actually increase the activity in the left prefrontal cortex. One of them is through meditation, and particularly mindfulness meditation, and then the other is through self-hypnosis and NLP. All of those will create new neural connections in this side of the brain. And when the left prefrontal cortex is active, or more active than the right prefrontal cortex, then you feel as if you're in full control of your emotions. You know how to do everything properly. You know how to eat properly. You know how to exercise properly. You know how to relax. So that's the third key. Now, the second principle is positive visualization. By a show of hands, how many of you here actually use visualization? Good. Well, it's actually a bit of a trick question because we all visualize, but most of us do it in a negative way, and that's called worrying, and it's totally unnecessary. Mark Twain, just before he died, he said, "I'm a very old man who suffered a great deal of misfortune, most of which never happened." And I think that epitomizes worrying well, very, very well. So the key is to hold in your mind the images that you want, to visualize yourself behaving the way that you want. This isn't actually new neuroscience, by the way. This actually goes back 2,000 years or more to Aristotle, and he actually said, act as if. And if you act as if you're a courageous person, if you act as if you're a successful businessman, if you act as if you're a loving parent, then that's the way that you're going to behave in front of others, and that's what you'll become. Now, in today's cynical society, that phrase, act as if, has actually been translated to fake it until you make it. And I think that's a huge shame, really. It lacks integrity. It's a bit like Groucho Marx. He said, the secret to successful business is honesty and fair trading. When you can fake those, you've got it made. Now, that's not what I'm implying when I say act as if. You act as if you're a confident person. You act as if you're a successful person, and that's the person that you're going to become. Now, the way that visualization works, or one of the ways it works with the unconscious, is down to something called the reticular activating system. Now, it sounds like it's a structure in the brain, but it's actually a process that occurs in the brain. Our brains can take in millions and millions of bits of information every second, but our conscious minds can only process 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of information every second. If everything that was coming in at the unconscious level came up into our conscious minds, we'd be overwhelmed. So we have the reticular activating system that acts like a filter, and it only allows things into the conscious part of the mind that it considers are important. So you have to program your reticular activating system. Visualization is a great way to do that. Another way to do it is to write goals, to have written goals in every area of your life. Now, if you've got written goals in your life, or rather if you haven't got them, it's like driving a powerful motor car in thick fog. You're only limited to a few miles an hour. But if you've actually got written goals, then it lifts the fog and you can operate at maximum potential. So write goals. Now, I haven't got time to discuss the various models for setting goals. I like SMART goals. I like smarter goals for personal goals. And I like the CREATE model from NLP as well. And I use a combination of all of those. Now, I just want to demonstrate how powerful goal setting is. If you've got a mind that's focused by written goals, you can achieve any goal that you want. To demonstrate it, I've got an arrow over here and an apple. This is a genuine archery arrow. It's very sharp. I can impale it on this apple and it goes right through very easily. Okay, so I've got a goal to get to this wall, and this arrow is in the way. A lethal weapon is in the way, but it will just disintegrate if I got a focused mind. So I'm just going to rest it there against the soft part of my throat. and move forward slightly. And there we are. When you've got a mind that's focused by clear goals, you can achieve the impossible, just about. Now, Napoleon Hill had a very great quote. Now, I want to get it right, so I've written it down on a piece of paper. He said that your imagination is the most marvellous, miraculous, and inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. Now, if we actually knew the power of a negative thought, we'd never ever dare think another negative thought ever again. So take care of what you're thinking. Visualise. The best time to visualise is just as you're falling asleep. Thomas Edison said, never go to sleep without asking a favour of the unconscious mind. And he was the best inventor that there ever was. More inventions recorded in his name than anybody else ever. And he did that every night. Now you can actually access that power any time of the day or night by using self-hypnosis. But again, that's another talk. The third principle to put into practice is feeding yourself a diet of good quality mental protein. So that's continuous learning. It's reading books every day. If you can read 30 to 60 minutes every day in your field, you're going to become an authority within 3 years. You'll become a national authority in 5 years and an international authority in 7 years, just through reading 30 to 60 minutes every day. When you're in the car, you should be listening to CDs, instructional CDs, rather than music. Car time can be learning time, and you can increase your learning significantly just while you're going places. You want to be looking for inspirational quotes. The little memes that we see on Facebook, some of those can be quite inspirational and they're good for you. You need to, as I say, dedicate yourself to continuous learning. You should set aside 5% of your budget for learning and enroll on as many courses and seminars as you possibly can. Now, the skill that's going to be the most in demand in the future is going to be the ability to learn new skills at a rapid rate as old skills become redundant. So dedicate yourself to lifelong learning. Feed yourself a good diet of quality mental protein. You might think of it as bread for the head. The fourth principle is to actually surround yourself with positive people. Now, the people that we associate with, psychologists term our reference group. And people that are high performing have had very successful reference groups from a very early age. If you think about it, our income is the same, or the average of the income of the 5 people that we associate with most. It's been shown time and time again. So you need to get yourself around positive people. Maybe not like-minded people, but action-minded people. And you'll see that will ensure your continued success. We have what's called a chameleon response. We tend to take on the actions, the mannerisms, the dress, and even the slang of the people that we hang around with. A bit like a chameleon takes on the colourings of its surroundings. So get yourself around successful people and avoid negative, toxic people, dream thieves. Distance yourself from them because they'll take all your energy away. And then the final principle is positive health habits. These are vitally important. It's energy and dynamism that counts now in today's business society. And if you're tired and burnt out, there's no way that you can show up as being energetic and dynamic. So you need to take care of your health. There's a new disease in the UK. It's only been around for the last 12, maybe 15 years. It's affecting nearly 44% of the population and costs the NHS about £7.5 billion a year to deal with. Has anyone got any idea what it might be? Well, that's related to it. Sorry? That's also related to it as well. It's actually malnutrition. Now, amazingly, in 21st century society, we can actually be clinically obese and malnourished at the same time. It sounds ridiculous, but it's true. Now, the keys to having a nice healthy diet would be to probably minimise meat intake, eat lots of vegetables, lots of fruits, avoid white flour. In fact, I would say avoid any type of flour, even wholemeal flour, because there's evidence that grains are actually linked to depression. They're just showing that if you have a lot of grains in your diet, it creates inflammation in the brain and it leads to depression. And I would say that supplementation is absolutely essential. And the easiest way to remember what you should be supplementing with is the word MEGA, M-E-G-A. You have a mega diet or mega supplementation program for mega health. The M stands for minerals, and it can also stand for multivitamins. But if you're actually having a healthy diet, you're probably going to get sufficient vitamins, but you can't get the minerals anymore. All our food products, unless they're organically grown or locally grown, they're deficient in minerals. So you need to make sure you're getting those minerals. The E stands for essential fatty acids. These are your omega-3, omega-6, omega-7 and omega-9 fatty acids. But the most important is the omega-3. And we tend to have far too much omega-6 in our diets and not enough omega-3. Some people's diets, they'll have 16 times more omega-6 than omega-3. So the best way to get it, eat oily fish, but you shouldn't eat more than 2 portions a week because of the mercury. That's government guidelines. Or supplement with a good quality omega-3 fish oil or krill oil. Or if you're vegetarian, you can actually get omega-3 fatty acids that are derived from sea algae, marine algae. And that's actually where the fish get theirs, where the oily fish get theirs. The G stands for greens. Eat lots of greens. You could consider juicing them, or you can buy freeze-dried products. And the A stands for antioxidants. And you need a certain amount of antioxidants to prevent oxidative stress in your body. It's part of the detoxifying process. And then, in addition, I would suggest that you probably need to supplement with probiotics once or twice a year, and especially if you've been on antibiotics. And vitamin D3, it's worth supplementing with that because virtually everybody in the UK is deficient in vitamin D3, and that's implicated in over about 17 different types of chronic illness, particularly cancer. So supplement with vitamin D3. In the summer we get enough if we go out into the sunshine, but in the winter there's nowhere near enough. Now, if you do this and you give yourself plenty of recreation, good quality recreation, that'll enable you to manage stress, and you're actually going to become so healthy and so energetic that you're going to be unstoppable. And it's people that are like that are the successful people. People that take massive action, they get massive results. So I think that just about concludes everything that I wanted to say. My name's Trevor Hoskisson from the Harley Street Hypnotherapy Clinic in London. Thank you.
Smile, be